I stood in the hallway, my small fingers pressed against the dining room door, watching my parents through the crack as they toasted with champagne. The crystal glasses clinked, and my mother's laughter floated through the air like music, a sound I hadn't heard in months. To our son, my father said, his voice warm with pride. To Noah. I was 6 years old when I learned that love could be measured, divided, and reallocated like pieces of cake at a birthday party. My name is Lydia, and that night marked the beginning of my slow descent into invisibility. He'll be perfect, my mother said, her hand resting on her swollen belly. Everything we've always wanted. The words struck me like tiny daggers. I watched them share secret smiles across the table, their faces glowing with a joy I'd never seen directed at me. The fancy china was out, the set reserved for special occasions, and Mother had even lit the expensive candles she usually saved for Christmas. Should we call Lydia down? My father asked, almost as an afterthought. Mother shook her head. Let her sleep. We'll tell her tomorrow. Besides, she might not understand. You know how sensitive she can be. I understood perfectly. I understood that my mother had made my father's favorite pot roast, even though she'd been too tired to cook my birthday dinner last month. I understood that they'd bought a new crib while my bed still had a broken slat that pinched my leg every night. We'll need to start preparing her, Father said, swirling his champagne. She'll have to learn to be more independent, more responsible. Clara offered to take her for a while. Mother replied, just until things settle down with the baby. It might be easier that way. My grandmother, Clara, lived 3 hours away in a house that smelled like cinnamon and old books. She always had time to listen to my stories and never told me I was being too sensitive. That might be best, Father agreed, reaching for Mother's hand. We'll need to focus all our attention on Noah in the beginning. I backed away from the door, my sock-covered feet silent on the hardwood floor. In my room, I pulled out the small suitcase I'd gotten for my birthday, the one Mother said was for big girl adventures. I started filling it with my most important possessions, my favorite stuffed rabbit, 3 books, and the photo of me and Grandmother Clara at the beach. The next morning, when they told me about the baby brother and their plans to send me to Grandmother's house, I pretended to be surprised. I nodded at all the right moments and said all the right things. Yes, I understand. No, I'm not upset. Yes, I'll be a good girl for Grandmother. But inside, something had shifted. As I watched them exchange relieved glances at my calm acceptance, I felt a small, hard kernel take root in my chest. It wasn't quite hatred. I was too young to understand hatred then. It was something else, something that would take years to fully bloom. That night, as I lay in bed, listening to them discuss nursery colors through the thin walls, I made my first real decision. I would be everything they wanted, responsible, independent, helpful. I would smile and nod and play my part perfectly. But I would remember. I would remember how it felt to stand in that hallway, watching them toast to my replacement. I would remember how easily they decided to send me away, how quickly they redistributed their love. And someday, when they least expected it, I would make them remember too. Lydia! Mother called from downstairs. Come help me with these baby catalogs. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and practiced my smile in the mirror. Coming, Mother, I called back, my voice sweet and eager. The performance was about to begin. 2 years at Grandmother Clara's house had softened the edges of my resentment, wrapped it in warm memories of cookie-scented afternoons and bedtime stories. But standing in our driveway now, watching my father unload my suitcases from the car, I felt that familiar hardness return to my chest. Your brother's waiting to meet you, Mother said, her voice tight with forced cheerfulness. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. He's such a good baby, Lydia. Barely cries at all. I nodded, clutching the stuffed rabbit Grandmother had given me. 8 years old now, and already I understood the art of selective silence. The house smelled different. Powder and warm milk, and something else I couldn't name. In the living room, a baby swing took up the space where my reading corner used to be. Noah lay there, pink-faced and peaceful, surrounded by more toys than I'd ever owned. Would you like to hold him? Mother asked, already reaching for him. I need to unpack, I said, but she wasn't listening. Support his head. Yes, like that. See? You're a natural caretaker. The word caretaker hung in the air between us, heavy with expectation. Noah stirred in my arms, his tiny fingers wrapping around my thumb. He was lighter than I expected, fragile like the china dolls grandmother kept in her display cabinet. I've enrolled you in the local school, Father said, dropping my bags by the stairs. You start Monday. Your mother will need help with Noah in the afternoons. But I had piano lessons on Mondays at grandmother's. We can't afford extras right now, he cut in. Noah needs special formula. It's quite expensive. I looked down at my brother's peaceful face, wondering if he knew how much he cost. If he understood that his formula was worth more than my piano dreams. The first few weeks fell into a routine. School, home, help with Noah, homework if there was time. Mother started calling me her little assistant, a title that made me feel both proud and hollow. One afternoon, I came home to find Mother crying in the kitchen. Noah was wailing upstairs. A sound I'd learned meant he needed changing. I can't do this anymore, she sobbed into her hands. I'm so tired. I stood in the doorway, my backpack still on, watching her shoulders shake. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to be the good daughter who could make everything better. But another part, the part that remembered champagne toasts and packed suitcases, kept me rooted to the spot. I'll, I'll take care of Noah, I said finally, my voice steady. You should rest. She looked up, relief washing over her face. You're such a good girl, Lydia. What would I do without you? I climbed the stairs to Noah's room, each step heavy with the weight of her gratitude. He stopped crying the moment I entered, his little arms reaching for me. Hello, little brother, I whispered, lifting him from the crib. It's just you and me now. As I changed him, I heard Mother's bedroom door close downstairs. Through the nursery window, I could see Father's car in the driveway, but he didn't come in. He'd been staying late at the office more often lately, leaving me to handle the evening routine. Noah grabbed my finger again, smiling his toothless smile. It wasn't his fault. I knew that. He didn't ask to be the favorite, to be the reason our family twisted itself into this new shape. I'll teach you things, I told him softly, buttoning his onesie. Important things, like how to recognize when someone's love comes with conditions, how to smile when you're hurting, how to pack a suitcase quietly in the middle of the night. He cooed, oblivious to the weight of my words. Later that night, I found a note from Mother on my pillow. Inside was a $20 bill and hastily scrawled words. For being such a help. Don't tell your father. I folded the money carefully and added it to the small box hidden under my mattress, next to Grandmother Clara's letters, and the photo from that beach day that felt like someone else's memory now. Each bill was a receipt, a record of the times my mother's guilt outweighed her attention. Someday, I promised myself, I would cash them all in. The papers scattered across my father's desk told a story in numbers. Company ledgers, bank statements, and transfer records. Each document was a chapter in a tale of systematic theft, carefully hidden beneath legitimate transactions. At 16, I understood enough about accounting to see the pattern, to recognize how my father had been siphoning money from his company for years. What are you doing in here? I didn't startle at my mother's voice. Something in me had expected this moment, had been waiting for it. Looking for a stapler, I said, sliding the papers back into their folder with steady hands. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Behind her, I could hear Noah practicing piano, the same instrument I'd been told we couldn't afford lessons for 8 years ago. Your father doesn't like anyone in his office. I noticed. I met her gaze. He's very protective of his paperwork. A flicker of something, fear, maybe, crossed her face. The company's finances are complicated. You wouldn't understand. I understand enough. The folder felt heavy in my hands, like how Noah's private school tuition gets paid through shell accounts, Or how our house renovation last year came from diverted corporate funds. The color drained from her face. You've been going through your father's private files. Someone had to. I moved toward the door, but she blocked my path. Give me the folder, Lydia. Why? So you can keep pretending everything's normal? That we're just a regular family with regular problems? Noah's piano practice hit a wrong note, the discord echoing through the house. Mother flinched. Your father works hard to give us a good life, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. To give Noah opportunities. Noah, Noah, Noah. I laughed, a harsh sound that surprised us both. Do you ever hear yourself? Do you ever wonder why his opportunities always seem to come at my expense? That's not fair. We've given you everything. You've given me responsibilities, obligations, a front row seat to watch Noah get everything I was denied. I clutched the folder tighter. But you know what's funny? All this time, you could have afforded both. Piano lessons, summer camps, college funds. There was always enough money. You just chose who deserved it. Her hand shot out, grabbing my arm. You don't understand what you're talking about. Your father is a thief, I finished. And you're his accomplice. The slap caught me off guard, more from surprise than force. Mother had never hit me before. She'd never needed to. Her disappointment had always been weapon enough. I'm sorry, she gasped, reaching for me, but I stepped back. Don't. My cheek stung, but something else burned hotter, a certainty crystallizing in my chest. You know what the real crime is? Not the money. It's how you both convinced yourselves that Noah deserved everything while I deserved nothing. That's not true. Then prove it. I held out the folder. Tell Father to pay for my college applications, all of them, or these documents find their way to his company's board of directors. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. The dutiful daughter she'd raised would never resort to blackmail, but she'd taught me well, about conditional love, about power, about survival. You wouldn't, she whispered. Try me. Noah's piano practice had stopped. In the silence, I could hear him coming down the hall, probably drawn by our voices. Everything okay? He asked, appearing behind Mother. At 13, he was already taller than me, his face still carrying the innocence of the favored child. Everything's fine, Mother said quickly. Your sister was just leaving. I smiled at Noah, the same smile I'd perfected years ago. Keep practicing, you're getting better. As I walked past them, folder tucked safely under my arm, Mother caught my sleeve. When did you become so cold? She asked softly. I thought about champagne toasts and packed suitcases, about years of calculated neglect disguised as necessity, about a little girl who learned to measure love in ledger entries and bank statements. I learned from the best, I said, and pulled away. In my room, I added the folder to my growing collection of evidence. Each document was a bullet in the gun I was building, aimed at the heart of my parents' carefully constructed facade. Soon, I would pull the trigger. But not yet. First, I needed to make sure I had enough ammunition to destroy them completely. Grandmother Clara's letter arrived on the same day as my college acceptance. 2 milestones, 2 very different futures, colliding in the morning mail. I opened Clara's first, my fingers trembling slightly as I unfolded the crisp paper. My dearest Lydia, it began, I need to confess something before it's too late. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw my father's car in the driveway. He never came home this early. I tucked the letter into my pocket, unfinished, and moved to answer the door. We need to talk, he said, brushing past me into the house. Mother followed, her face tight with worry. Noah trailed behind them, looking confused. I got into Stanford, I said, holding up the acceptance letter like a shield. Sit down, Father ordered, ignoring my news completely. We gathered in the living room, the same room where I'd first held Noah, where I'd learned to make myself invisible. Mother perched on the edge of the sofa, while Father remained standing, pacing. The company's conducting an audit, he announced. They're looking into some irregularities. The word hung in the air like smoke. I felt the weight of Clara's unread letter in my pocket. What kind of irregularities? Noah asked. Nothing for you to worry about. Mother cut in quickly. But Lydia, we need your help. Of course they did. I waited, my face carefully blank. We need you to take a job at the company, Father said. In accounting. There are some transactions that need to be adjusted, made legitimate. You want me to help you cover up your theft, I translated. Noah's head snapped up. What? It's not theft, Mother insisted. Your father was just ensuring our family's future. Noah's education. Stop! Noah stood up, his face flushed. Is that true? You've been stealing to pay for my school? Father turned to him, softening. Son, everything I did was for you. Don't. I cut in, my voice sharp. Don't you dare make him carry that burden. This isn't about burden, Father snapped. This is about family loyalty. Your skills could help us fix this, Lydia. Make it all go away. I pulled Clara's letter from my pocket, finally understanding why she'd chosen now to write. And what about my future, Stanford? There are more important things right now, Mother said. Family comes first. I laughed, the sound brittle. Family? You mean Noah comes first, same as always. That's not fair, Noah protested, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. Isn't it? Tell me, brother, did you ever wonder why I never got piano lessons? Why I spent my afternoons watching you while Mother rested? Why every dream I had was too expensive, but yours were investments? Enough, Father shouted. This isn't about ancient history. This is about now, about protecting what's ours. What's yours? I corrected, standing up. I was never included in that equation. Mother reached for my hand. Darling, please. We need you. The words I'd waited so long to hear twisted into another demand. I pulled away, unfolding Clara's letter. Let me read you something, I said, scanning the pages. Dearest Lydia, I've watched for years as they've used you, shaped you into their perfect accomplice. I helped fund your education in secret because I saw what they couldn't, your potential beyond their schemes. Father's face darkened. What is this? But I must confess, I continued, that I've gathered evidence of Robert's financial misdeeds, not to protect the company, but to protect you, to give you a choice. Clara? Mother whispered, horrified. She wouldn't. She did. I met my father's eyes. She left me a choice. I can take your job offer, become complicit in your crimes, sacrifice my future to protect yours. Or I can use her evidence, walk away clean, and never look back. Noah stepped toward me. Lydia, please. I'm sorry, Noah, but I can't keep protecting you from who they really are. I pulled the Stanford letter from my pocket, placed it on the coffee table alongside Clara's confession. 2 futures, 2 choices. The dutiful daughter they'd created, or the woman I could become. I'll give you 24 hours to decide, I said, moving toward the door. Either you find another way to fix this, or I use everything I have, Clara's evidence, my own records, all of it. Your choice. As I walked out, I heard Noah ask, What have you done to us? I didn't stay to hear their answer. I already knew the truth. They'd done it to themselves. The cafe where I met Noah was exactly halfway between Stanford and our parents' house. Neutral ground. He looked older somehow, though it had only been 3 days since my ultimatum. They're selling the house, he said without preamble, sliding into the booth across from me. And liquidating their retirement accounts. I stirred my untouched coffee. To cover the missing money. To send me to law school. His hands clenched around his cup. They're still trying to protect me, even now. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I pulled out my phone, showed him the email I'd received that morning. They've also been calling my professors, trying to block my transfer to Stanford, claiming family hardship. Jesus! He rubbed his face. When did we become this? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Clara's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, like I had been doing since her letter arrived. You should talk to her, Noah said. She's been asking about you. She's been manipulating me, I corrected. Just like them. Different methods, same game. Is that what this is to you? A game? I met his eyes across the table. No, this is survival. The waitress appeared with more coffee. We waited until she left before continuing. I found something else, Noah said quietly. In Father's study, documents about Grandmother Clara's property. They've been using it as collateral for loans without her knowledge. My hand froze halfway to my cup. What? They forged her signature multiple times. He pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. They're not just stealing from the company, they're stealing from everyone. I opened the folder with steady hands, though my pulse raced. Each document was another nail in their coffin, another betrayal of the woman who'd given me sanctuary when they'd cast me aside. Why are you showing me this? Noah leaned forward. Because I need to know what you're planning. Really planning. This isn't just about exposing them anymore, is it? What do you think I'm planning? I think you're planning to destroy them. Completely. And I need to know if I should stop you or help you. The cafe seemed suddenly too small, too public for this conversation. A family at the next table laughed over pancakes, oblivious to the war being planned beside them. You can't be both the golden child and the whistleblower, Noah, I said finally. Choose now. He pulled something else from his jacket, a USB drive. Their complete financial records, everything, including what they've done to Clara. He placed it between us like a gauntlet. But I have conditions. Of course you do. We protect Clara. Whatever happens to them, she doesn't lose her home. I nodded slowly. And? And we do this right. Legal channels, no anonymous tips to the press, no dramatic confrontations at family dinners. Clean and clinical. You want to take the satisfaction out of it, I observed. I want to take the poison out of it. He pushed the drive closer to me. Before it destroys you too. My phone buzzed again. Clara. Always Clara, trying to reach me, to explain, to justify. I silenced it without looking. They're meeting with their lawyer tomorrow, Noah continued, planning to transfer more assets, create new shells. Once that happens, it becomes harder to trace, I finished. Harder to prove. Exactly. He stood up, leaving the drive on the table. You have until midnight to decide. Use the evidence legally, or I go to them first and warn them. I looked up at my brother, no longer the innocent baby I'd helped raise, but a man making his own choices. When did you become so calculating? A sad smile crossed his face. I learned from the best. All of you. He left me there, staring at the USB drive that could demolish our family's carefully constructed facade. Clean and clinical, he'd said. As if revenge could ever be clean, as if justice could ever be simple. My phone buzzed one final time. Not Clara this time, but Mother. Please, Lydia, we can fix this as a family. I picked up the drive, feeling its weight. Lighter than it should be, given all it contained. All the years of lies, manipulation, and careful accounting of love's conditions, reduced to digital files and paper trails. Noah was right about one thing. This wasn't a game anymore. This was war. And in war, there are always casualties. I just had to decide who would fall first. The Christmas tree in Clara's living room was the same one I'd helped decorate as a child, its ancient ornaments reflecting the harsh winter light. But today, surrounded by my entire family, it felt more like a gallows than a celebration. I'm so glad we could all be together, Clara said, passing around eggnog with trembling hands. She'd aged decades in the past few weeks, her face lined with worry she tried to hide behind festive cheer. I clutched the USB drive in my pocket, waiting. Mother was arranging presents under the tree, all for Noah, of course. Father checked his phone constantly, probably monitoring the stock transfers he'd arranged for tomorrow morning. Before we open gifts, I announced, standing, I have something to share. Noah's head snapped up, his face paling. Lydia! It's time. I pulled out my laptop, connected it to Clara's television. Everyone should see this. Darling, can't it wait? Mother's voice held that familiar note of dismissal. We're having such a lovely time. No more waiting. I pulled up the files, watching them project onto the screen. No more pretending. The first document appeared, a forged transfer from Clara's account. Then another, and another. Years of systematic theft, displayed in cold, digital clarity. Clara's gasp cut through the room. Robert, what is this? It's nothing, Mother, Father started, but I was already switching to the company records. Tell her, I demanded. Tell her how you've been stealing from her for years, how you forged her signature, how you've been lying to everyone. Mother stood, hands shaking. Lydia, stop this immediately. Why? Afraid of what else I might show? Like the emails where you plotted to keep me from college? Or the records of all the money you funneled to Noah while telling me we couldn't afford basic necessities? Noah stepped forward. This isn't how we agreed. No, I cut him off. This is exactly what they deserve. Public exposure, complete transparency, everything they never gave me. Clara's voice was barely a whisper. You knew about this? All this time? Ah, I did more than know. I turned to her, feeling something crack inside me. I gathered evidence, built a case, planned this moment for years. While living in my house, she said softly, using my love as cover. The words hit me like physical blows. I learned from the best, didn't I? This family's greatest skill, using love as a weapon. Father stood suddenly. Enough. You want to destroy this family? Fine. But remember, you'll go down with us. Your fingerprints are all over these transactions. What? Noah turned to me, horrified. Oh, yes, Father continued, gaining momentum. Who do you think processed some of these transfers? Who helped balance the books when she worked in my office? She's not just the whistleblower, she's an accomplice. Mother's eyes widened with understanding. You're not exposing us, Lydia. You're exposing yourself. The room spun slightly. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I'd planned everything so carefully, but I'd forgotten one crucial detail: how deeply I'd been forced to participate in their schemes. I was a child, I whispered. You made me help you. Prove it, Father challenged. Prove you weren't a willing participant, that you didn't benefit from the money, too. Clara stood shakily, moving away from me. All of you, you've all been lying to me, using me. Grandmother, no. Don't. She held up a hand. Just don't. Noah looked between us all, the perfect family portrait shattering before his eyes. What have we become? The Christmas tree lights blinked mockingly, casting shadows that seemed to dance with cruel amusement. I'd wanted to destroy them, but I'd forgotten that I was part of the structure I was demolishing. The debris would bury me too. I'm calling my lawyer, Father announced, pulling out his phone. Either we all agree to keep this quiet, protect each other, or we all fall together. Your choice, Lydia. Mother reached for Noah protectively. Clara sank into her chair, looking small and broken, and I stood in the middle of it all, watching my carefully constructed revenge crumble into something uglier than I'd imagined. The USB drive felt heavy in my pocket now. Not a weapon anymore, but a suicide bomb. I'd been so focused on making them pay that I hadn't noticed how deeply I'd embedded myself in their web of lies. Merry Christmas, I said quietly, and walked out into the snow, leaving behind the wreckage of both my family and my revenge. Sometimes the price of justice is higher than even the vengeful can afford to pay. The envelope arrived 3 days after Christmas, bearing Clara's familiar handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a confession dated 20 years ago, written in my father's precise script, detailing the first time he'd stolen from the company. Clara's signature was at the bottom, authorizing the transfer of funds. She'd known. All along, she'd known. I found her in her garden, pruning dead roses in the winter cold. Her hands were bare, red from the frost. You were his accomplice, I said, holding up the yellowed paper. From the beginning. Clara didn't turn around. I was trying to protect you. By helping him steal, by watching him favor Noah while I… By giving you something to fight against. She finally faced me, her eyes sharp despite her age. I knew what Robert was becoming, what Karen enabled. I needed you to be stronger than them. The roses lay scattered at her feet like drops of blood on snow. So you used me, just like they did. I gave you tools, education, independence, everything they tried to deny you, while taking their money, helping them hide their crimes. She smiled, sad and knowing. Did you never wonder why I kept such detailed records? Why I documented every transaction, every forgery? Understanding hit me like ice water. You were building a case. For 20 years. She pulled off her gardening gloves. But I couldn't be the one to expose them. It had to be you, Lydia. You needed to break free on your own terms. Why? Because I made the same choice once, with your grandfather. She moved closer, her breath visible in the cold. He was like Robert, charming, ambitious, corrupt. I stayed silent, thinking I could protect everyone. Instead, I watched him destroy himself and nearly take us with him. The confession crumpled in my fist. So this was all some kind of test? A lesson? This was survival. Her voice hardened. I taught you to document everything, to keep records, to understand money, not just for revenge, but so you'd never be trapped like I was, like your mother is. And Noah? Noah was the sacrifice. We let him stay innocent while you learned to be strong. She touched my cheek, her fingers ice cold. I'm not proud of it, but I'd do it again. I stepped back, the pieces finally falling into place. The evidence you gathered, it's not just about father's embezzlement, is it? No. She pulled an envelope from her pocket. This proves I was complicit. If you use your evidence against Robert, this will surface. Everyone falls, me included. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to decide what justice really means. Is it worth destroying everyone to punish them? Or is there another way? A car door slammed nearby. Noah emerged from his vehicle, followed by our parents. The family meeting I'd called, right on schedule. They're here, Clara said quietly. What's it going to be? I looked at the confession in my hand, then at the approaching figures. My father's confident stride, my mother's protective hover around Noah, my brother's uncertain steps. You manipulated me, I said to Clara. All these years. Yes. No excuses, no justification. Just truth. Like mother, like daughter, like granddaughter. I laughed, hollow. We're all just different versions of the same story, aren't we? They were almost at the garden now. I could see Father's face, already arranged in its familiar mask of authority. Mother's eyes, darting between us, sensing danger. Lydia, Noah called out. We need to talk about Christmas. No, I cut him off, turning to face them all. We need to talk about everything. I held up Clara's confession in one hand, my USB drive in the other. 20 years of secrets, lies, and careful manipulation, distilled into paper and plastic. Family meeting, I announced, my voice carrying across the winter-dead garden. But this time, we're going to try something new. What's that? Father demanded. I met Clara's eyes one last time, saw the question there. Then I looked at my family, really looked at them. Not as enemies to destroy or wrongs to right, but as people trapped in patterns they couldn't see. The truth, I said simply. All of it. From everyone. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destruction, but forcing people to finally face themselves in the light. The Stanford acceptance letter sits on my desk beside the company's settlement agreement. Two different kinds of freedom, both purchased with the same currency. Truth. Father resigned this morning. The board's investigation was swift, clinical. Mother hasn't spoken to anyone since the police interviewed her about the forged documents. Noah moved out of their house last week, taking only what he'd earned himself. You could have destroyed us completely, Clara says, watching me pack up my childhood bedroom. Why didn't you? I fold another sweater, one she knitted for me years ago. Because destruction wasn't the point. What was? Breaking the pattern? I pause at my old desk, running my fingers over the scratches where I'd once carved tallies, counting days until escape. Someone had to. The doorbell rings. Through the window, I see Daniel's car in the driveway. He's early to help with the moving, but he's not alone. Noah stands beside him, shifting uncertainly. He's been asking about you, Clara says. I know. I've been getting his texts, each one a careful bridge across the chasm I created. He's trying to understand. Are you? I meet her eyes in the mirror. My grandmother, my conspirator, my complicated salvation. Understanding isn't the same as forgiving. Downstairs, Mother's voice drifts up, her first visitor in weeks. The sound makes me pause. Remember the champagne toast that started everything, but the bitterness I expect doesn't come. They're in therapy now, Clara offers. Both of them. Good. I close my suitcase. But that's their journey, not mine. Noah's footsteps on the stairs, familiar as heartbeats. He appears in the doorway, looking younger somehow, unburdened. Hey, he says. Hey, Clara slips out, leaving us alone with 2 decades of shared history and separate truths. I got into law school, he says finally. State, not Yale. Using my own grades, my own money. Congratulations. I'm not taking their help anymore. He moves to the window where we used to watch for Father's car together. But I'm not cutting them off completely either. I think they need at least one of us to help them learn how to love without conditions. The words should hurt, but they don't. And you think you can be that person? I can try. He turns back to me. Someone has to. Daniel appears behind him, carrying empty boxes. My husband, who watched me plot revenge for years and never tried to stop me, just made sure I had a safe place to land. Ready? He asks simply. I look around the room one last time. The walls are bare now, stripped of photos and memories. But in their emptiness, they feel clean. New. Almost. I pull an envelope from my bag, the last piece of evidence, the one that could still destroy everything. This needs to go somewhere first. Noah recognizes Clara's handwriting on the front. Her confession? The original, the only copy. He takes it carefully. What should I do with it? Whatever you think is right. I shoulder my bag. That's your journey now. Daniel loads the last box into the car, while I say goodbye to Clara. She holds me tightly, this woman who taught me both survival and its cost. I'll visit, I promise. I know. She touches my cheek. But live your life first. Really live it. Through the window, I see Noah standing in my old room, Clara's envelope in his hands. He's looking at the desk where I carved my tallies, perhaps understanding for the first time what those marks really meant. Mother appears on the porch as we're leaving, her face pale but composed. Lydia! I know, I cut her off gently. Me too. Sometimes the heaviest words are the ones we don't say. The car pulls away, and I don't look back at the house. In the rearview mirror, I see Noah exit with Clara's envelope, heading toward the garden where roses will bloom again in spring. Stanford? Daniel asks, though he already knows the answer. Stanford, I confirm. Not running away this time, but moving forward. The settlement money will pay for school, a fitting transformation of my father's schemes into something clean and new. The evidence USB drive sits in my pocket, now empty of its secrets. But it's not the weight of revenge I feel anymore. It's something lighter, something that feels almost like freedom. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making others pay for their sins, but refusing to let their sins define your future. Oh.